I'm going to give you 5 things that are going to make you a better driver of the golf ball, and the beauty is you don't even have to change your golf swing. Let's get stuck into this lesson. Guys, if you are new here, welcome to the channel, and why not think about hitting the subscribe button down below, because we release videos just like this one every week to help you become a better golfer. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and why not leave us a comment down below on something that you're struggling with in your golf game, and we'll help you improve on that as well. So 5 things that are going to make you a better driver, and this is what I've seen playing with lessons out on the golf course, being on the lesson tee, and just generally watching a lot of amateur golfers and seeing where the struggles come from. Because if we can get the big stick going, the game becomes a lot easier. If we get it in play, if we're not losing balls off the tee, but we're finding the fairway or the semi-rough and it's a little bit further, it becomes easier. Now, tip number 1 is all to do with tee positioning. We're here on the 14th hole at the Duke's golf course. Fantastic view, breathtaking almost here, lovely day. But what we tend to see happen is that you walk onto the tee, you find yourself in the middle of the 2 markers, and you just put your golf ball into the ground, and generally most tees are cut in a square manner or a rectangle, sometimes they're rounded. But what we would see is if we were aligned to where we actually set ourselves to the tee box, what we'll notice from here is that this golf ball, if I were to line up with it, actually is going straight into a bunker. And you'll find this with a lot of tees on golf courses, how they've moved over years and how the fairways have shaped and things like that. And sometimes just by the design of the golf course, the tee box isn't pointing straight down the middle of the fairway. So we've got to make sure when we walk onto the tee, we're not just slapping it down in the middle, and we're not just allowing the tee box to be our aiming reference. We've got to do that ourselves. It might be that there's trees down the right, trees down the left. You might want to come over to a side of the tee box. But if you are going to go in the middle, just come back behind the golf ball like so, and just stand behind your golf ball directly, and almost just draw a line up with the club. Where is that ball? If you were to hit it straight going, because if it's into trouble, we've got to move. So for me, I would actually want to aim about 5 yards off the right of where the tee box is aiming, because that bunker's down at 280, and if I hit it bullet straight, I'm going in that bunker, all by making a good golf swing. So as I come in, I will pick something in the distance that is my target. The flag for me is where I want to hit it, which is, like I say, about 5 yards off. So as I now walk in, this is me aiming with the tee box. This is me aiming off where I actually want to have my intended target. So just by doing this, just having that little shuffle and hitting down towards my intended target, not even my best strike there, I am slap bang in the center of the fairway, all because I took a moment just to have a look where my tee box is pointing. So that's tip number 1, make sure you are doing that. Tip number 2 is all to do with how high we're teeing the golf ball. If you come with me, probably because of stigma of the past, I don't use castle tees, but if you're a mid to high handicapper, I would suggest that you start using castle tees to get the correct tee height every time, because when we're hitting a driver, we want to get the correct angle of attack. Now, everyone says that you should have the ball about half of the golf ball on the top line of the driver. That's all well and good if you've got an attack angle that is on the up. If you're someone who's hitting it on the down, you actually want to maybe tee it lower a little bit. As where if you're someone who's really hitting up on it, you probably want to tee it a little bit higher. So what I would like you to do is have a little bit of an experiment. Are you always breaking tees? Because if you're finding that you're skying a lot of drivers and you're leaving marks on the top of the face, yet you're teeing it up really high, you probably actually need to peg it down a little bit lower. Vice versa, if you're finding that you're always getting the strike out of the bottom of the driver, we probably need to peg it a little bit higher. But go through a little experiment. Get 3 different styles of castle tee peg. Maybe get the tallest one, the pink one, get the middle one, and then the lower one. And I want you to just hit some drives. For me, when I feel that I actually need to get a ball in play, I actually tee it down ever so slightly lower, because that for me means that I'm going to hit down on it ever so slightly. It's going to put my spin up a little bit, but I can get a little bit more control on it. So find a tee height that you can rely on. Don't just peg it up to that half a ball above the equator, because if you're hitting down on it, it's no good. If you're hitting too much up on it, that's no good. Find something that as you tee it up, like I say, for me, I've only got maybe just a quarter of the golf ball popping up here, but for me now, I know I can hit a little bit more of a fadey one doing this, just like so. And that's all because I know I can rely on that tee height. So tip number 2, find the correct tee height for you. Don't just give it a borderline of where it should be. Tip number 3 is all to do with the loft of our driver. Now here you can see I've got 9.5 degrees, but what I think we've maybe been sort of brainwashed into sometimes, because what we see the pros doing is that we need a lower loft, we need low loft, we need low spin, we need high launch to get this ball spinning low and get it going. Maybe not the case. Think about this. Do you find a 3-wood or a 5-wood easier to hit off the tee? Probably sometimes yes, and that's because there's a little bit more loft. So if you're really struggling with a lot of curvature on your drive at the moment, and you've got a driver that you can change the loft on a little bit, I want you to have a little experiment for me. This little setting here, the high one, I've got 9.5 that's at standard because that's right for me. If you're really struggling, I want you to go down to the driving range and just play with the loft a little bit. Add a little bit on, take a little bit off, and just see how that affects your drives, because I think, and we see this as well from the mini drivers as well, slightly smaller head, yet more loft. Why not get a bigger head and have more loft on that? Don't be afraid of having 11 degrees, 11.5 degrees, because that extra backspin is going to help keep the ball a little bit straighter. So if you could have a little play and change round that loft, loft is our friend. It can help get the spin up a little bit, which in turn is going to keep that driver a little bit straighter. So tip number 3, I want you to go and have a little experiment with playing with the loft of the driver and see how that changes your shots. Look at this, he's finding fairways for days here. What a shot. Guys, if you are enjoying this lesson as well, do remember to hit the subscribe button down below, totally free to do, and we want to improve your game. Let's have a look at tip number 4. Now, tip number 4 is all to do with speed. We love to hit the driver long. It's nothing better when you get one sailing down the fairway that's nice and straight and it goes past your mates that you're playing with. You feel big, it feels great when it's going like that. But I think a lot of the time when we're trying to achieve that, we forego a couple of things. We think that as we need to hit this ball longer, I need to up that swing speed, and yes, that is correct, we do need more swing speed, but what we can't lose is ball speed. Now, if I add 5 miles per hour to my swing speed, but I then strike it more out of the toe, more out of the heel, the bottom, the top, I'm going to lose ball speed. So a trick that I do with a lot of my students, real simple, and it won't ruin your driver, it will wipe off. Get a pencil for me, and what I want you to do is just on the driver face here, we're going to think about ball speed, and I want us to put a nice little X, or the little hair there, through the middle of the driver. The reason for this, that is now my intention. Jack Nicklaus was asked, how do you hit the ball longer? And he simply said, I hit the ball better. Now think about that. I've just said that yes, we want to up our swing speed, and yes, we want to try and up our ball speed, but if we're not striking it from that X, we're losing it. So as we're going to try and hit one a little bit further, yes, we're going to make our base a little bit wider. We're going to try and get a few bigger turns. But my main focus now, as I put this club in behind the golf ball, I can see that cross, that plus sign that I put on the face that is dead out of the middle. I'm not thinking about swinging it faster. Yes, speed is a priority, But all I'm going to focus on here is be really laser focused on, right, I want to bring this club and make sure that plus sign or that cross is meeting the golf ball. I don't want to be glancing too much. I don't want to be toeing or heeling. I want to make sure that if I'm going to hit it further, I'm going to hit it more out of the middle, because if I get it out of the middle, the ball speed is going to go up. So yes, my spring speed's going up, but my main focus is all about finding the plus sign. Oh, and that felt good, and it has gone longer. Oh, can we see? Just a little bit off it, but my main focus was trying to hit that plus. So if you're looking to hit slightly longer drives, let's focus on ball speed over swing speed. Get the middle of the golf club. And our fifth and final tip, we're not going to fix our shape out on the golf course. You might be a slicer, you might be a drawer, you might be a hooker, you might be hitting it low, you might be hitting it high. Play with what we've got when we're out there. If I come onto this tee here and it's requiring me to actually hit a little bit of a left to right shot, but I know that my ball moves right to left, and I aim down the left thinking, well, I know it needs a fade, but I'm going to draw it. Well, I'll try and play for the fade. Chances are I'll probably hit it with that little bit of a draw that I have, and I'll end up in the trouble. So there's a time for fixing the shape. That's down at the range. That's when you're having your lessons. But when we come out here, if we are struggling, just think about the shape we usually hit. For me, like I say, a little bit of a fade. So I might actually want to aim at that bunker and know that it's going to slice off. I'm going to hit this shot now with, I'm going to try and move it about 15, 20 yards left to right, but I'm going to allow for it. I'm not going to say, well, a good shot's going to go straight down the middle, so I'll aim down the middle and then slice it to the right. I've got a slice. I know that I've got a bit of a slice. I'm working on it in my lessons, but what I'm going to do now, just as I'm playing, I'm going to aim down here and play for that slice that I've got. It's a little bit different to what we said on tip 1, and we'd have to maybe allow for these things, but we've got to allow for our shot shape, because as I said, I'm going to get a 15 to 20 yard slice here. I know that it's going to happen. And for me, as I do that, because it's happened, we can see it shaping, and it's just finding the right side of the fairway there. So allow for your shape on the golf course. Don't let the whole shape dictate it, or don't try and hit something that you're not comfortable hitting. Allow your shape to play its way. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed that lesson there. 5 things to make you a better driver of the golf ball without making major swing changes. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you in a lesson very soon. And why not check out another one here to help you get better.